Hello, and welcome to tonight's journey through deep time. I'm the Drowsy Professor, and together we'll travel back 30,000 years to experience a single day through the eyes of one of our remarkable ancestors who lived during the last ice age, when vast glaciers covered much of northern Europe and North America, and humans survived through extraordinary knowledge, skill, and harmony with one of Earth's most challenging yet beautiful environments. As you settle into this ancient story of survival and adaptation, let me know where in the world and at what time you're watching. Now, get comfortable, take a slow breath, and let's begin our gentle journey into the Paleolithic past. In the soft gray light that comes before sunrise, 30,000 years ago in what we now call southwestern France, a figure stirs quietly within the carefully constructed shelter that has protected them through another night of the long Ice Age winter. This is Kael, whose name means mighty warrior in the ancient tongue of his people. Though warfare is rare in this world where survival depends more on cooperation with both the natural environment and fellow humans than on conflict with either. The shelter around him represents thousands of years of accumulated knowledge about living in harmony with one of Earth's most challenging climates, built from mammoth bones and hide, chinked with clay and moss, and positioned with precise understanding of wind patterns, drainage, and the subtle microclimates that make the difference between comfort and suffering during the long, cold months. As consciousness returns slowly and gently to Kael's resting mind, his first awareness is of the familiar sounds that mark the transition from night to day in his Ice Age world. The soft whisper of wind moving through the ice-glazed grasses outside his shelter, the distant cracking and settling of the permafrost as temperature changes create expansion and contraction in the frozen ground, and the barely audible breathing of his family members who share this warm sanctuary against the cold. These sounds carry information that his highly trained senses read like a book, telling him about wind direction and strength, temperature changes that indicate weather patterns, and the general state of the world beyond his shelter walls. The air inside the shelter holds the comforting sense of home. Smoke from banked fires that have burned slowly through the night, the earthy smell of fur and hide that forms as bedding and clothing, and the subtle herbal fragrances of the grasses and mosses that line the shelter floor and walls for insulation. Mixed with these familiar odors are the lingering traces of last night's meal. Mammoth meat that was carefully cooked and shared among the family group, along with the nutty aroma of pine nuts and the sweet scent of dried berries that provide essential vitamins during the long months when fresh plant foods are scarce. Kael's awakening follows the natural rhythm that has governed human sleep patterns for countless thousands of years, with his body gradually transitioning from the deep rest that allows cellular repair and memory consolidation to the lighter sleep stages that prepare him for consciousness. His internal biological clock, perfectly calibrated to the seasonal light patterns of his latitude, recognizes that sunrise approaches even though the shelter's thick walls block direct sight of the lightening sky. This internal timekeeper, inherited from ancestors who lived through countless Ice Age cycles, help to maintain the precise daily rhythms that are essential for survival in an environment where timing can mean the difference between finding food and going hungry. As Kael becomes fully aware of his surroundings, his first conscious act is to listen carefully to the subtle sounds that carry through the shelter walls, reading the acoustic landscape that tells him about conditions in the world outside. The wind carries no sound of large animals moving nearby, suggesting that the megafauna that share this landscape, mammoths, woolly rhinoceros, cave bears, and giant deer, are either still resting in their own shelters or foraging at distances too great for their sounds to carry to his location. The absence of certain bird calls tells him that predators like cave lions or wolves are not active in the immediate area, while the presence of other bird sounds indicates that small prey animals like Arctic hares and ptarmigan are beginning their own daily activities. The temperature inside the shelter, carefully maintained through the night by the thermal mass of banked fires and the insulating properties of the structure itself, tells Kael's experienced senses about the likely temperature outside and gives him preliminary information about what type of clothing and equipment he will need for the day's activities. His body, adapted through a lifetime of living in this challenging environment, provides accurate feedback about humidity levels air pressure changes that indicate approaching weather systems, and subtle temperature variations that help him assess whether the day will be suitable for different types of activities. Picture Kael as he begins the gentle process of fully awakening, his movements careful and quiet to avoid disturbing the other family members who share his shelter. His partner Aina, whose specialized knowledge of plant foods and material processing makes her an essential contributor to family survival. And their two children who are learning through daily observation and practice the thousands of skills they will need to thrive in this Ice Age world. The family structure represents not just emotional bonds, but a survival strategy that has evolved over countless generations, with each member contributing specialized knowledge and skills that increase the group's overall ability to extract resources from their challenging environment. The bedding beneath Kael consists of carefully prepared furs and hides that provide insulation from the frozen ground while maintaining body heat throughout the long, cold nights. These materials represent the accumulated products of successful hunts and the specialized processing skills that transform animal hides into comfortable, durable textiles. Reindeer fur provides the primary insulation layer, with its hollow hairs creating countless tiny air pockets that trap warm air close to the body, while mammoth hide creates a windproof and waterproof outer layer that protects against moisture and drafts. As Kael prepares to rise from his warm bedding, he performs the mental inventory that begins each day, assessing his physical condition, reviewing the plans and priorities that were established the previous evening, and considering how current weather conditions might affect the day's activities. His body shows no signs of injury or illness, confirming that he is ready for the physical demands that survival in this environment requires. His mental state is calm and focused, reflecting the emotional stability that comes from living in harmony with natural rhythms and having confidence in the knowledge and skills that have been tested through countless similar days. The process of emerging from sleep and preparing to face the day follows traditions that have been refined over thousands of years, with each action designed to maintain the delicate balance between energy conservation and preparation for activity that characterizes successful Ice Age living. Kael's movements are deliberate and efficient, avoiding waste of body heat while gradually increasing circulation and muscle readiness for the day's work. This careful attention to physical preparation reflects deep understanding of human physiology and the effects of cold on bodily functions. The shelter around Kael represents one of humanity's greatest technological achievements during the Ice Age period: the development of portable, efficient housing that could provide comfort and safety in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The structure combines mammoth bones as a framework, with carefully selected curved tusks forming the primary structural elements, long bones creating the wall framework, and flat bones serving as foundation elements that distribute weight evenly across the ground surface. This bone framework is covered with multiple layers of hide that create an insulating envelope, with air spaces between layers providing additional thermal protection. The engineering principles underlying the shelter's design demonstrate sophisticated understanding of structural mechanics, thermodynamics, and materials science that rivals modern architectural knowledge in its effectiveness for the specific environmental challenges it addresses. The curved shape sheds wind efficiently while maximizing internal volume. The entrance is positioned to minimize heat loss while allowing easy access, and the interior layout optimizes the use of space for sleeping, food storage, tool manufacture, and the social activities that maintain family bonds during long periods when outdoor activity is limited by weather conditions. As the first pale light of dawn begins to filter through the shelter's carefully designed ventilation system, Kael can see the familiar shapes of the tools, weapons, and household items that represent his family's technological heritage and their means of survival in this demanding world. Spear points crafted from knapped flint demonstrate the sophisticated understanding of stone tool technology that allows humans to hunt successfully even the largest Ice Age animals. Bone needles and sinew thread represent the textile technologies that create the clothing systems essential for survival in subarctic conditions. The fire that has burned slowly through the night represents perhaps the most crucial technology for Ice Age survival, providing not only warmth and light, but also the means for cooking food, processing materials, and creating the social focus that maintains family and community bonds. The management of fire requires constant attention and deep knowledge of fuel types, burning rates, and safety practices that prevent accidental fires, while ensuring that warmth and cooking capability remain available throughout the long cold seasons. As Kael quietly prepares to venture outside his warm shelter and assess the conditions that will shape his day's activities, he draws upon a lifetime of accumulated knowledge about reading the subtle signs and signals that the Ice Age environment provides to those who understand its language. This landscape, shaped by forces of cold and ice that dwarf anything in the modern world, speaks to him through dozens of indicators that tell him about weather patterns, animal movements, resource availability, and the countless other factors that determine success or failure in his challenging but beautiful world. The first step in reading the frozen landscape begins before leaving the shelter, as Kael uses his finely tuned senses to gather preliminary information about conditions outside. The sound of wind moving through the ice-covered vegetation tells him about wind speed and direction, crucial information for hunting and travel planning, since Ice Age animals are highly sensitive to scent and sound carried on air currents. The particular quality of the wind sound, whether it carries the sharp whistle that indicates movement across bare ice, the softer sighing that suggests passage through snow-covered terrain, or the complex harmonics that develop when air moves through the varied topography of a landscape shaped by glacial activity. The subtle changes in air pressure that Kael can sense through his eardrums and sinuses provide early warning of approaching weather systems, allowing him to plan activities that take advantage of good weather while preparing for storms that could make outdoor activity dangerous or impossible. Ice Age weather systems move with patterns that experienced hunters learn to predict with remarkable accuracy, reading the atmospheric signs that modern meteorologists recognize through sophisticated instruments, but which Ice Age peoples interpreted through direct sensory observation, refined over generations of careful attention to natural phenomena. When Kael finally pushes aside the hide flap that serves as a shelter's door and steps into the crisp morning air, his senses immediately begin processing the wealth of information available in the frozen landscape around him. The quality of light tells him not only the time of day, but also the atmospheric conditions that will affect visibility and the behavior of both prey animals and potential predators. The crystalline clarity that characterizes cold, dry air creates visibility conditions that allow skilled observers to spot movement at distances measured in miles, while the flat gray light that accompanies approaching storms reduces visibility and changes the optical characteristics that hunters rely on for accurate assessment of distance and movement. The snow conditions under his feet provide a detailed report on recent weather patterns and current temperature trends that will affect his ability to travel efficiently, while reading the tracks and signs left by animals moving through the landscape. Fresh powder, snow, tells of recent precipitation and current temperatures that keep the snow from compacting, creating conditions that make travel difficult for humans, but which some animals can navigate more easily with their specialized adaptations for snow travel. Crusty snow that bears weight without significant penetration indicates freeze-thaw cycles that create firm travel surfaces while also affecting the feeding patterns of herbivorous animals that must dig through snow layers to reach vegetation. Picture Kael as he stands outside his shelter in the growing light of dawn, his breath visible in the cold air as his experienced eyes scan the horizon for the subtle signs that will guide his decision-making throughout the day. The landscape around him bears the unmistakable signature of Ice Age conditions. Rolling hills covered with a mosaic of snow, exposed grassland, and scattered groves of cold-adapted trees that create the parkland environment which supported the rich diversity of large mammals that characterized this period in Earth's history. The permafrost that lies just beneath the surface creates drainage patterns and soil conditions that produce a unique ecosystem unlike anything that exists in the modern world, with specialized plant communities that have adapted to the short growing seasons and extreme temperature variations that characterize Ice Age climates. These plant communities, in turn, support herbivorous animals whose population dynamics and movement patterns create the foundation for successful hunting strategies that depend on understanding the complex relationships between climate, vegetation, and animal behavior. The tracks in the snow around Kael's shelter tell stories of the nighttime activities of various animals that share this landscape, with each set of footprints providing information about species identity, direction of travel, timing of passage, and behavioral state of the animals that created them. Mammoth tracks, massive and easily identifiable, indicate the passage of family groups that move in predictable patterns between feeding areas and water sources. Reindeer tracks show the movement patterns of herds that migrate seasonally across vast distances, following ancient routes that take advantage of favorable feeding conditions and weather protection. The feeding signs left by herbivorous animals provide additional information about resource availability and animal behavior patterns that can guide hunting decisions. Areas where mammoths have used their tusks to scrape away snow and expose buried vegetation indicate both the presence of food resources and the persistence of animals in particular locations. Reindeer feeding areas, marked by scattered droppings and trampled snow, show the intensity of use and can indicate whether herds are likely to return to particular locations. The subtle changes in snow crystal structure that occur with temperature variations provide Kael with detailed information about recent weather patterns and current atmospheric conditions that will affect his comfort and safety during outdoor activities. Snow that has undergone sublimation and recrystallization creates surface conditions that make quiet movement difficult, while fresh snow that has fallen under calm conditions provides cushioning that allows nearly silent travel for hunters who understand how to move efficiently across different snow conditions. The ice formations that develop around water sources create both opportunities and hazards that experienced Ice Age peoples learn to read with great precision. The sound of water moving beneath ice indicates the thickness and stability of ice formations that might provide crossing points over streams and rivers, while the presence of open water areas shows locations where animals are likely to come for drinking and where hunters might position themselves for successful encounters with prey species. The wind patterns that flow across the varied topography of the Ice Age landscape create microclimates and scent corridors that affect both human comfort and animal behavior in ways that skilled hunters learn to use to their advantage. Sheltered areas where wind speed decreases provide relief from wind chill effects, while also creating locations where animals seek protection from harsh weather conditions. Ridge lines and exposed areas where wind speeds increase create natural funnels that can carry scent over long distances, while also creating thermal effects that influence animal movement patterns. The vegetation patterns that characterize the Ice Age landscape reflect both the current season and the longer-term climate cycles that affect resource availability and animal distributions. Areas where hardy grasses and sedges remain accessible above snow level provide feeding opportunities for herbivorous animals and indicate locations where hunting success is more likely. Scattered groves of birch, willow, and pine trees provide both materials for tool making and fuel for fires, while also creating habitat diversity that supports different animal species with varying resource requirements. The geological features that shape the Ice Age landscape provide natural landmarks for navigation, while also creating the terrain features that influence weather patterns, water flow, and animal movement routes. Moraines left by glacial activity create ridges and depressions that channel both wind and water flow, while providing elevated observation points that allow hunters to survey large areas for signs of animal activity. River valleys carved by glacial meltwater create natural corridors that funnel animal movement and provide travel routes that avoid the most difficult terrain. The seasonal indicators that mark the progression of winter into spring provide crucial information for planning longer-term survival strategies and resource management decisions. The angle of sunlight tells Kael about the seasonal progression that will determine when various plant foods become available and when animal behavior patterns change in response to breeding cycles and migration timing. The subtle changes in day length that mark the approaching end of winter indicate when preparation for seasonal transitions should begin. The atmospheric conditions that create various optical effects in the cold, clear air provide additional information about weather patterns and atmospheric stability that affects both human activity and animal behavior. Sundogs and other ice crystal formations in the atmosphere indicate specific temperature and humidity conditions that can predict weather changes, while the clarity or haziness of distant objects provides information about atmospheric pressure and stability that experienced observers can use for weather forecasting. As Kael completes his initial assessment of the frozen landscape around his shelter, he integrates all of this sensory information into a comprehensive understanding of current conditions and likely developments that will guide his decisions about the day's activities. This process of environmental assessment, refined through thousands of years of human adaptation to Ice Age conditions, represents one of the most sophisticated examples of ecological knowledge and environmental literacy that our species has ever developed. The remarkable success of Ice Age peoples in not just surviving, but thriving in one of Earth's most challenging environments demonstrates the extraordinary capabilities that emerge when human intelligence and creativity are applied consistently over many generations to the challenges of living in harmony with natural systems. The knowledge that Kael applies unconsciously in reading his frozen landscape represents the accumulated wisdom of countless ancestors who learned through careful observation and experiment how to extract everything necessary for comfortable survival from an environment that seems impossibly harsh to modern eyes. Tonight, as you rest peacefully in your warm bed, you can appreciate the incredible achievement that Ice Age survival represents and the sophisticated understanding of natural systems that allowed our ancestors to live successfully in conditions that would challenge even modern technology and knowledge. The landscape that Kael reads with such skill and confidence reminds us that human beings have always been capable of remarkable adaptation and environmental mastery when they develop the patient, careful attention to natural systems that characterizes traditional ecological knowledge. With his assessment of the frozen landscape complete and a clear understanding of the day's possibilities forming in his mind, Kael returns to the warm interior of his shelter to begin the careful morning preparations that will determine his success and safety throughout the coming day. This process of preparation represents one of the most crucial aspects of Ice Age survival, where attention to detail in tool selection, equipment maintenance, and personal readiness can mean the difference between a successful day of hunting and gathering and a dangerous struggle against the unforgiving elements that characterize his world. Picture Kael as he settles beside the glowing embers of his family's fire, the warmth radiating against his face while his hands begin the familiar work of checking and preparing the tools that represent thousands of years of accumulated human knowledge about survival in extreme environments. Each implement in his possession embodies generations of refinement and improvement, with every detail of design and construction representing solutions to specific challenges that Ice Age peoples encountered in their daily lives. The first tool that Kael examines is his primary hunting spear, a weapon that represents perhaps the pinnacle of Paleolithic technology in its elegant combination of effectiveness, durability, and craftsmanship. The shaft, carved from a straight-grain birch sapling that was selected and harvested with careful attention to wood quality and seasoning, measures precisely the length that allows optimal balance and throwing accuracy for a hunter of Kael's height and arm length. The wood has been shaped with stone tools and smoothed with abrasive stones until its surface feels like silk beneath his fingers, reducing friction and improving grip while eliminating any rough spots that might cause blisters during extended use. The spear point, napped from a piece of high-quality flint that was traded from distant sources where superior stone could be obtained, demonstrates the sophisticated understanding of fracture mechanics and stone tool technology that characterizes the most advanced Paleolithic craftwork. The point's leaf-shaped design provides optimal penetration while maintaining sufficient strength to resist breakage when striking the heavy bones and thick hide of Ice Age megafauna. The edges have been pressure-flaked to surgical sharpness, creating cutting surfaces that can slice through the toughest materials while maintaining their effectiveness through repeated use. As Kael runs his experienced fingers along the spear point's edges, checking for any chips or dull spots that might compromise its effectiveness, he demonstrates the constant maintenance routine that keeps stone tools functioning at peak performance. Any minor damage he discovers will be carefully repaired using the pressure flaking techniques that he learned during his apprenticeship under master toolmakers. With small antler tines used to remove tiny flakes of stone and restore the perfect edge geometry that makes the difference between clean kills and wounded animals that escape to suffer and die uselessly. The binding that attaches the stone point to the wooden shaft represents another marvel of Paleolithic technology, using sinew from the leg tendons of large animals that has been carefully processed to create strong, flexible cord that becomes even tighter when wet. This sinew has been wound in precise patterns that distribute stress evenly across the attachment point, while allowing some flexibility that prevents the binding from breaking under the shock of impact. The binding is further secured with pine resin that has been heated and applied as a waterproof adhesive that sets to create a virtually permanent attachment. The balance of the completed spear reflects careful attention to the physics of projectile motion and the biomechanics of human throwing motion, with the weight distribution calculated to provide maximum accuracy and range while maintaining the momentum needed for effective penetration. Kael tests this balance by holding the spear at its center of gravity and feeling the way it responds to small movements, confirming that the weapon remains properly tuned for optimal performance. The backup spear points that Kael carries represent insurance against loss or damage of his primary weapon, with each point carefully crafted and tested to ensure that it can be quickly hafted to a replacement shaft if needed. These spare points are stored in a specially designed leather pouch that protects them from damage while keeping them readily accessible when needed. The pouch itself demonstrates the sophisticated leatherworking skills that Ice Age peoples developed, with soft, supple hide that has been tanned using brain matter and other natural chemicals to create material that remains flexible even in extreme cold. The atlatl, or spear thrower, that Kael carries represents a technological innovation that effectively doubles the range and power of his hunting weapons by extending the length of his throwing arm and increasing the velocity that can be imparted to projectiles. This tool, carved from dense hardwood and shaped to fit his hand perfectly, includes a hook that engages the rear end of his spears and a grip area that has been carefully textured to prevent slipping even when wet or cold. The atlatl's design reflects sophisticated understanding of leverage, momentum transfer, and human biomechanics that allows skilled users to achieve remarkable accuracy at distances that would be impossible with hand-thrown spears alone. The knife that hangs from Kael's belt in a carefully crafted sheath represents perhaps the most versatile and essential tool in his kit, serving functions that range from food preparation and high processing to emergency weapon use and general cutting tasks. The blade, knapped from the same high-quality flint as his spear points, has been shaped with a design that balances cutting ability with durability while providing the edge geometry needed for different types of cutting tasks. The handle, made from antler that has been shaped to fit his grip precisely, provides secure control even when his hands are cold or wet. The fire-starting kit that Kael checks with particular care represents the technology that makes human survival possible in Ice Age conditions, providing the means to create warmth, cook food, and process materials regardless of weather conditions. His kit includes pieces of flint and iron pyrite that can be struck together to create sparks, along with carefully prepared tinder made from dried fungi, shredded bark, and other materials that will catch and hold a spark long enough to ignite larger kindling. The entire kit is stored in a waterproof container made from a cleaned and sealed animal bladder that protects these essential materials from moisture that would render them useless. The clothing that Kael wears represents a sophisticated system of layered protection that provides warmth, weather resistance, and freedom of movement essential for successful hunting in extreme conditions. The base layer, made from soft fur worn with the hair against his skin, provides insulation while wicking moisture away from his body to prevent the dangerous cooling that occurs when wet clothing freezes in contact with skin. The outer layer, made from wind and water-resistant hide, provides protection from the elements while maintaining breathability that prevents overheating during strenuous activity. The boots that protect Kael's feet represent perhaps the most critical component of his clothing system, providing insulation from frozen ground while maintaining the traction and flexibility needed for walking on varied Ice Age terrain. These boots are constructed with multiple layers that include waterproof outer shells made from treated hide, insulating liners made from fur and grass, and carefully designed soles that provide grip on both snow and ice. The construction techniques used to create these boots include sophisticated stitching methods that create waterproof seams while maintaining flexibility and durability. The pack that Kael will carry during his day's activities represents a marvel of practical design that maximizes carrying capacity while distributing weight efficiently across his body to minimize fatigue during long-distance travel. The pack frame, made from carefully selected and shaped wood, provides structural support while remaining light enough to avoid adding unnecessary weight to his load. The pack bag, sewn from multiple pieces of hide using techniques that create strong, waterproof seams, includes specialized compartments for different types of equipment and supplies. As Kael completes his equipment check and begins loading his pack with the supplies he will need for the day's activities, he demonstrates the systematic approach to preparation that characterizes successful Ice Age survival. Each item is selected based on careful consideration of the day's planned activities, expected weather conditions, and contingency planning for unexpected situations that might arise. The total weight of his equipment reflects careful optimization between carrying adequate supplies and maintaining the mobility needed for successful hunting. The spare clothing that Kael includes in his pack provides insurance against weather changes or accidents that might damage his primary protection, with extra mittens, footwear, and outer garments that can be quickly donned if conditions deteriorate. These spare items are made using the same sophisticated construction techniques as his primary clothing, but are designed for easy replacement and repair using materials and tools that he carries with him. The food supplies that Kael packs represent carefully calculated nutrition that will provide sustained energy throughout a day of strenuous activity in cold conditions. Dried meat provides concentrated protein and fat that supplies the calories needed for maintaining body heat and muscular activity, while dried berries and nuts provide carbohydrates and essential vitamins that prevent nutritional deficiencies during the long winter months when fresh plant foods are unavailable. The tool maintenance supplies that complete Kael's kit include the specialized items needed for field repair and maintenance of his equipment, with replacement sinew for binding repairs, stone flakes for resharpening cutting edges, and pine resin for waterproofing and adhesive applications. These maintenance supplies reflect the understanding that equipment reliability is essential for survival, and that the ability to maintain and repair tools in the field can mean the difference between successful completion of planned activities and dangerous equipment failure. The ritual elements that Kael includes in his preparation reflect the spiritual aspects of Ice Age life that help maintain psychological well-being and social cohesion in challenging environments. Small carved objects that serve as personal totems provide psychological comfort and cultural connection, while materials for making offerings to the spirits of animals that may be hunted demonstrate the respectful relationship that Ice Age peoples maintain with the natural world that sustained them. As the final step in his morning preparation, Kael performs the mental rehearsal that helps ensure success in the challenging activities that lie ahead, visualizing the various scenarios he might encounter and reviewing the responses and strategies that experience has taught him work best in different situations. This mental preparation represents the psychological component of survival that complements the physical and technological preparations, creating the confidence and readiness that allows skilled hunters to perform effectively even under stressful conditions. The coordination with his family members that concludes Kael's preparation process ensures that everyone understands the day's plans and their individual responsibilities, with contingency arrangements made for different possible outcomes of his hunting activities. This family coordination reflects the cooperative nature of Ice Age survival, where individual success depends on group support and where communication and planning help minimize risks while maximizing the benefits of successful resource acquisition. Tonight, as you settle deeper into peaceful rest, you can appreciate the incredible attention to detail and sophisticated understanding of technology, materials, and preparation that allowed Ice Age peoples to live successfully in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The care and precision that Kael brings to his morning preparation demonstrates the remarkable human capacity for adaptation, in a way that careful attention to every aspect of survival technology can make the difference between thriving and merely surviving in demanding conditions. With his equipment prepared and his understanding of current conditions complete, Kael steps quietly from his shelter into the crisp morning air and begins following the ancient paths that connect his world. Not just the physical trails worn by countless generations of both human and animal feet, but the invisible pathways of knowledge and understanding that allow skilled hunters to move through their landscape with confidence and success. These paths represent the accumulated wisdom of thousands of years of human observation and interaction with the Ice Age environment, creating a network of understanding that transforms what might seem like trackless wilderness into a familiar landscape rich with information and opportunity. Picture Kael as he sets out across the snow-covered terrain, his movements deliberate and efficient as he follows routes that have been used by his people for generations. Paths that take advantage of natural terrain features while avoiding the hazards and difficulties that can make travel dangerous or exhausting in Ice Age conditions. His route follows the gentle contours of hillsides that provide firm footing while offering protection from the strongest winds, crosses streams at points where generations of experience have identified the safest and most reliable fording locations, and passes through areas where the configuration of vegetation and terrain creates favorable conditions for encountering the animals that provide essential resources for his family's survival. The first set of tracks that Kael encounters tells him a story that begins to unfold the day's possibilities, with the distinctive four-toed prints of a woolly rhinoceros indicating that one of these massive herbivores passed this way during the night, probably heading toward the sheltered valley where winter-hardy sedges provide reliable forage even during the coldest months. The depth and clarity of the tracks tell him that the animal was moving slowly and steadily, not fleeing from danger or rushing toward some urgent destination, suggesting a routine movement between feeding and resting areas that follows predictable patterns. As Kael examines the rhinoceros tracks more closely, he reads additional layers of information that help him understand not just what animal passed this way, but when, under what conditions, and with what implications for his own activities. The way snow has drifted into the tracks tells him approximately when they were made, while the condition of the track edges shows him whether the ground was frozen hard or soft when the animal passed. Small details like the depth of claw marks and the spacing between steps provide information about the animal's size, age, and physical condition that experienced trackers can interpret with remarkable precision. The scent trail that accompanies these tracks carries additional information that Kael's trained senses can detect and interpret, with the musky odor of woolly rhinoceros providing confirmation of species identification, while subtle variations in scent strength and freshness help him gauge the timing of the animal's passage. Ice Age peoples developed extraordinarily acute senses of smell that allowed them to detect and interpret scent information that modern humans can barely perceive, using this sensory input as another source of data about animal movements and behavior patterns. Following the rhinoceros trail leads Kael to a sheltered area where the massive animal spent part of the night, and here he finds a wealth of additional information about Ice Age herbivore behavior and ecology. The feeding signs show where the rhinoceros used its horn to scrape away snow and expose the hardy grasses and sedges that form the bulk of its winter diet, creating shallow excavations that reveal both the animal's feeding efficiency and the locations where vegetation remains accessible despite snow cover. The resting area where the rhinoceros spent part of the night shows the depression in the snow where the animal lay down, with the surrounding area trampled and marked by the various movements associated with settling in for rest. The size and shape of this resting area provides information about the animal's body condition and health status, while the duration of its stay can be estimated from the amount of snow melting that occurred from body heat and the quantity of droppings deposited in the immediate area. As Kael moves away from the rhinoceros sign and continues following the ancient paths that guide his movement through the landscape, he encounters evidence of other members of the Ice Age megafauna community that share this environment. Mammoth tracks cross his route at a point where the massive animals regularly travel between the forested areas where they seek shelter from storms and the open grasslands where they conduct their most intensive feeding activities. These tracks, pressed deep into the frozen ground by animals weighing several tons each, tell stories of family group movements and social behaviors that skilled hunters learn to predict and utilize. The Mammoth Trail shows evidence of a family group consisting of several adults and at least 2 juveniles, with the different sizes of tracks revealing the age structure of the group, while the spacing and arrangement of the footprints provides information about the social dynamics and movement patterns that characterize mammoth behavior. The matriarchal structure typical of mammoth societies is evident in the way the tracks are arranged, with the largest tracks, those of a senior female who leads the group, consistently positioned at the front of the formation. Picture Kael as he follows the Mammoth Trail for a short distance, reading the story of their passage while gathering information that will help him understand the current distribution and movements of these massive animals whose presence shapes so many aspects of Ice Age ecology. The feeding signs along their route show where the mammoths use their trunks to gather dry grasses and their tusks to strip bark from trees, creating the kind of environmental modification that affects vegetation patterns and influences the habitat available for other species. The mammoth dung scattered along their trail provides additional information about their diet and health status, while also contributing to the nutrient cycling that maintains the productivity of Ice Age grasslands. These droppings, rich in partially digested plant material, support communities of insects and small mammals, while their decomposition releases nutrients that fertilize the soil and support plant growth during the brief but intensive growing seasons that characterize Ice Age summers. The interaction zones where different animal trails converge and overlap create particularly information-rich areas that Kael studies with special attention, recognizing that these locations often represent critical resources or favorable environmental conditions that attract multiple species. Water sources, salt licks, and areas with particularly nutritious vegetation or favorable microclimate conditions become focal points for animal activity and therefore prime locations for successful hunting encounters. One such convergence area that Kael encounters shows recent sign from reindeer, horses, and bison, with the different hoof prints and track patterns creating a complex overlay that tells stories of species interactions and resource competition. The timing of the different visits can be determined from the way tracks overlay each other and from differences in track preservation that reflect varying weather conditions when each set of animals pass through the area. The reindeer sign shows evidence of a small herd that passed through during the early morning hours, probably moving between overnight resting areas and daytime feeding locations following patterns that are well established during winter months. The relatively light tracks and the absence of deep feeding excavation suggest that these animals were traveling rather than foraging intensively, possibly heading toward areas where wind exposure keeps vegetation more accessible or where snow conditions are more favorable for efficient movement. The horse tracks tell a different story, with the round hoof prints and stride patterns indicating animals that were moving more slowly and spending considerable time investigating potential food sources. Ice Age horses were remarkably hardy animals that could extract nutrition from low-quality vegetation that other herbivores might ignore, and their feeding sign shows the patient, thorough foraging behavior that allowed them to survive in conditions that challenged larger, more specialized grazers. The bison sign reveals yet another aspect of Ice Age herbivore ecology, with the cloven hoofprints and larger body size creating distinctive tracks that show different movement patterns and behavioral responses to environmental conditions. These massive animals, well adapted to cold conditions with their thick winter coats and efficient metabolism, often moved in larger groups that could create dramatic impacts on vegetation and snow conditions in areas where they concentrated their activities. As Kael continues following the ancient paths that guide him through his territory, he encounters additional evidence of the predator-prey relationships that maintain the dynamic balance characteristic of Ice Age ecosystems. Wolf tracks show where a pack traveled along ridge lines that provide good visibility while offering strategic advantages for hunting cooperative strategies. The spacing and arrangement of these tracks reveal pack size and social structure, while the condition and freshness of the sign indicates recent predator activity in the area. The cave bear sign that Kael discovers near a rocky outcrop tells him about the presence of one of the Ice Age's most impressive predators. Though these massive animals were primarily omnivorous and posed little direct threat to experienced human hunters who understood their behavior patterns and habitat preferences. The claw marks on trees and the distinctive five-toed tracks show where a large individual passed through the area, probably heading toward traditional denning sites where cave bears spent extended periods during the coldest parts of winter. The interaction between predator and prey sign provides Kael with crucial information about the current state of animal populations and the likelihood of encountering different species during his hunting activities. Areas with heavy predator sign often indicate reduced herbivore activity as prey animals avoid locations where they might encounter dangerous opponents, while areas with minimal predator presence may offer better opportunities for successful hunting encounters. The scavenger sign that accompanies evidence of predator activity tells additional stories about the ecosystem dynamics that characterize Ice Age communities. Raven tracks and feeding signs show where these intelligent birds have been following predator packs and taking advantage of hunting successes, while the smaller tracks of Arctic foxes reveal their presence as secondary scavengers that clean up whatever remains after larger predators and scavengers have taken their shares. The territorial markings that various animals leave to communicate with others of their species provide Kael with information about population densities and social dynamics that can affect hunting success. Scent posts marked by wolves and other predators indicate territorial boundaries and pack activities, while the rubbing trees used by herbivores for grooming and scent marking show habitat use patterns and social behaviors that experienced hunters learn to recognize and interpret. As Kael follows these ancient paths deeper into his hunting territory, he demonstrates the remarkable synthesis of observational skills, ecological knowledge, and pattern recognition that characterizes the most successful Ice Age hunters. Every track, feeding sign, resting area, and territorial marking contributes to his growing understanding of current animal distributions and activities, building a mental map of opportunities and challenges that will guide his hunting decisions throughout the day. The weather signs that Kael continues to monitor as he travels provide ongoing updates about atmospheric conditions that could affect both his own activities and the behavior of the animals he hopes to encounter. Changes in wind direction and speed influence scent distribution and detection, while shifts in cloud cover and temperature affect visibility conditions and animal activity patterns in ways that experienced hunters learn to anticipate and utilize. The seasonal indicators that mark the landscape provide Kael with broader context about the timing of his hunting activities relative to the annual cycles that govern animal behavior and resource availability. The position of the sun and the length of shadows tell him about the progression of winter toward spring, while subtle changes in snow conditions and ice formation reflect the gradual warming that will eventually trigger major changes in animal movements and feeding patterns. Tonight, as you drift toward deeper rest, you can appreciate the extraordinary synthesis of knowledge, skill, and environmental awareness that allowed Ice Age hunters like Kael to read their landscape like an open book, interpreting the countless signs and signals that revealed the locations, movements, and behaviors of the animals whose presence made survival possible in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The ancient paths that guided Kael's movements represent not just routes across the landscape, but pathways of understanding that connected human intelligence with the natural world in ways that enabled remarkable success in environmental conditions that would challenge even modern survival experts. As Kael moves deeper into his hunting territory, following the ancient paths that connect feeding areas, water sources, and sheltered locations favored by Ice Age animals, he continuously reads the subtle vocabulary of snow and ice conditions that provides essential information about weather patterns, travel safety, and the environmental factors that influence animal behavior throughout his frozen world. This language of winter conditions represents one of the most sophisticated forms of environmental literacy that humans have ever developed, allowing experienced Ice Age peoples to predict weather changes, assess travel hazards, and understand the complex relationships between atmospheric conditions and the ecosystem dynamics that determine hunting success. Picture Kael as he pauses at a slight rise in the terrain that offers a broader view of the surrounding landscape. His experienced eyes scanning not just for signs of animal activity, but for the subtle indicators embedded in snow and ice formations that tell him about current atmospheric conditions and likely weather developments over the coming hours and days. The snow crystals beneath his feet speak to him of temperature histories and wind patterns, while the ice formations visible in the distance carry information about freeze-thaw cycles and the stability of water sources that are crucial for both human survival and animal distribution. The snow surface that Kael examines as he kneels to inspect a promising set of tracks reveals a complex story of recent weather events and current atmospheric conditions that experienced observers can read with remarkable precision. The size and shape of individual snow crystals tell him about the temperature and humidity conditions that existed when the snow fell, with large, intricate flakes indicating relatively warm, humid conditions while small. Simple crystals reveal the extremely cold, dry conditions that characterize the most severe Ice Age weather. The way these snow crystals have been modified since they first fell provides additional information about wind patterns and temperature variations that have occurred in the intervening time. Wind transport creates characteristic surface textures that show the direction and strength of prevailing air currents, while sublimation and recrystallization processes create distinctive surface crusts that indicate specific temperature and humidity cycles that can be used to predict likely weather developments. As Kael runs his mittened hand across the snow surface, feeling the texture and resistance that different snow conditions create, he demonstrates the tactile component of Ice Age weather literacy that complements visual observation with direct physical assessment of snow properties. The way snow compresses under pressure tells him about its density and structure, information that affects both travel efficiency and the likelihood of finding well-preserved animal tracks that can guide his hunting decisions. The wind patterns carved into snow surfaces create a visible record of atmospheric circulation that allows skilled observers to understand both current wind conditions and the recent history of air movement across the landscape. Sastrugi, the sculpted snow formations created by persistent wind action, show the dominant wind directions while their size and shape indicate wind strength and consistency over extended periods. These wind patterns affect both human comfort and animal behavior, creating shelter areas where both hunters and prey seek protection from the most severe conditions. Picture the intricate sculptures that wind and ice create across Kael's landscape, with snow formations that range from delicate, feather-like deposits in wind shadows to hard-packed drifts that can support the weight of large animals without significant compression. These formations tell stories of atmospheric dynamics and provide practical information about travel routes and the locations where animals are most likely to be found seeking shelter or taking advantage of favorable feeding conditions. The ice formations that Kael observes around water sources provide crucial information about temperature trends and the safety of water access points that are essential for both human survival and animal distribution. The thickness and clarity of ice cover indicate the duration and intensity of freezing conditions, while the presence of pressure ridges and other stress features reveals information about thermal expansion and contraction cycles that affect ice stability and safety. The frost patterns that develop on various surfaces create additional indicators of atmospheric conditions and microclimate variations that experienced Ice Age peoples learn to recognize and interpret. Hoarfrost formations tell him about humidity levels and temperature gradients, while rime ice deposits indicate the presence of supercooled water droplets that create distinctive atmospheric conditions affecting both visibility and precipitation patterns. The sound characteristics of different snow and ice conditions provide Kael with auditory information that complements his visual and tactile assessments of environmental conditions. The crisp crack of footsteps on hard-crusted snow tells him about surface temperatures and structural properties, while the soft whisper of movement through powder snow indicates different density and temperature characteristics that affect both travel efficiency and noise discipline essential for successful hunting. The way snow and ice respond to his movement provides ongoing feedback about surface conditions that help Kael adjust his travel techniques and route selection to maintain optimal efficiency and stealth. Areas where snow compacts silently under his snowshoes allow quiet movement that won't alert nearby animals, while sections where ice crackles and crunches require modified movement techniques or alternative routes that avoid creating sounds that might compromise hunting opportunities. The thermal properties of different snow and ice formations help Kael understand the insulation and heat transfer characteristics that affect both his own comfort and the behavior of animals seeking shelter from cold conditions. Deep, fluffy snow provides excellent insulation that can create warm microclimates beneath the surface, while wind-packed snow conducts heat more readily and creates conditions that are less favorable for animals seeking thermal protection. The optical effects created by various snow and ice conditions provide information about atmospheric clarity and light transmission that affects visibility and the visual detection of both animals and environmental hazards. The brilliant reflection from fresh snow surfaces can create conditions that limit visibility and require eye protection, while the muted light transmission through overcast conditions creates different visual environments that favor different hunting strategies and travel techniques. The chemical indicators embedded in snow and ice formations tell Kael about atmospheric composition and pollution sources that can affect both environmental health and animal behavior. Dust and debris incorporated into snow layers reveal information about wind transport patterns and distant environmental conditions, while unusual coloration or odors indicate atmospheric conditions or biological activities that might influence ecosystem dynamics. The seasonal progression indicators visible in snow and ice formations help Kael understand his position within the annual cycles that govern resource availability and animal behavior patterns. Changes in snow crystal types and ice formation characteristics mark the subtle transitions between different phases of winter, while the increasing or decreasing stability of frozen surfaces indicates the approach of seasonal changes that will dramatically affect hunting strategies and resource management priorities. Picture Kael as he observes the subtle changes in ice formation patterns that indicate the beginning stages of the transition from deep winter toward the eventual spring thaw that will transform his landscape and animal communities. These early indicators, invisible to untrained observers, provide crucial advance warning that allows experienced Ice Age peoples to begin adjusting their survival strategies and resource management practices in preparation for major seasonal transitions. The avalanche indicators that Kael reads in slope stability and snow layer characteristics help him assess travel safety in areas where unstable snow conditions might create dangerous situations. The presence of wind slabs, depth hoar, and other unstable snow formations requires careful route selection and timing decisions that can prevent potentially fatal encounters with natural hazards that are part of Ice Age landscape dynamics. The animal behavior indicators reflected in how different species respond to various snow and ice conditions provide Kael with additional information about the environmental factors that influence hunting success. Some animals prefer areas with specific snow depths and surface characteristics, while others avoid certain ice conditions that make feeding difficult or travel hazardous, creating predictable patterns that experienced hunters learn to recognize and utilize. The microclimate variations created by different snow and ice formations help Kael understand the small-scale environmental differences that can significantly affect both human comfort and animal distribution. South-facing slopes that receive more solar radiation develop different snow conditions than north-facing areas, while valleys and depressions accumulate snow in patterns that create distinctive thermal and moisture characteristics affecting vegetation and animal habitat quality. The weather prediction capabilities that come from reading snow and ice conditions allow Kael to anticipate atmospheric developments that will affect his hunting activities and travel safety over the coming hours and days. Changes in snow crystal formation, wind pattern modifications, and ice formation alterations provide early warning signs of approaching weather systems that can be used to make informed decisions about activity planning and safety precautions. The navigation information embedded in snow and ice formations helps Kael maintain accurate orientation and route finding even when visibility conditions limit the availability of distant landmarks. Consistent wind patterns create characteristic snow formations that can serve as directional indicators, while ice formations around water features provide reference points that help maintain accurate navigation through familiar territory. The resource availability indicators that snow and ice conditions provide help Kael understand where to find the materials needed for tool maintenance, fire building, and other essential survival activities. The accessibility of water sources, the availability of dry fuel materials, and the locations of materials needed for equipment repair can all be assessed through careful observation of how snow and ice conditions affect different environmental features. The communication possibilities created by snow and ice conditions allow Kael to leave and read messages that can coordinate activities with other family or community members. Distinctive marks in snow surfaces can indicate directions of travel, successful hunting locations, or hazard warnings that help maintain group coordination and safety even when individuals are separated by considerable distances during hunting activities. The artistic and cultural expressions that Ice Age peoples created using snow and ice formations demonstrate the aesthetic and spiritual dimensions of their relationship with winter conditions that went beyond purely practical survival considerations. The ability to create temporary sculptures and arrangements using natural materials provided cultural enrichment and creative expression that helped maintain psychological well-being during the challenging conditions of Ice Age winters. Tonight, as you settle into deeper rest, you can appreciate the remarkable sophistication of environmental literacy that allowed Ice Age peoples to read the language of snow and ice with extraordinary precision and detail, extracting from winter conditions the information needed not just for survival, but for successful, comfortable living in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The knowledge that Kael demonstrates in interpreting his frozen world represents thousands of years of careful observation and accumulated wisdom that enabled human communities to thrive in conditions that would challenge even modern technology and scientific understanding. As Kael continues his patient journey through the Ice Age landscape, following trails and reading signs that guide him toward the areas where large animals are most likely to be found, he approaches one of the most remarkable aspects of his world: the opportunity to observe and potentially hunt the magnificent megafauna that characterized Ice Age ecosystems and made survival possible for human communities that understood how to live in harmony with these massive creatures. These encounters with giants represent moments of profound connection between human intelligence and the natural world, requiring not aggression or dominance, but rather deep understanding, careful planning, and respectful interaction with animals whose size and power demand the highest levels of skill and preparation. Picture Kael as he crests a low ridge and pauses to scan the valley below, where his knowledge of animal behavior patterns and seasonal movements suggests he might encounter some of the large herbivores that form the foundation of Ice Age hunting success. His position provides an excellent vantage point for observation, while keeping him downwind from potential animals and maintaining the elevated position that gives human hunters their primary advantage over much larger and more powerful prey species. The first giants that Kael observes are a small family group of woolly mammoths feeding peacefully in an area where their massive tusks have excavated through snow cover to expose the dried grasses and sedges that form the bulk of their winter diet. These magnificent creatures, standing nearly twice the height of a modern elephant and covered with the thick, shaggy coats that allow them to thrive in Ice Age conditions, represent perhaps the most iconic and important animals in Kael's world, providing not only meat for food, but also materials for shelter construction, tool making, and countless other essential survival needs. As Kael watches these mammoths from his concealed position, he demonstrates the patient observation skills that are essential for successful Ice Age hunting, studying their behavior patterns, assessing their health and condition, and evaluating the tactical situations that might allow a safe and successful hunting approach. The matriarchal structure of mammoth society means that the oldest and most experienced female leads the group, making decisions about feeding locations, travel routes, and responses to potential threats based on decades of accumulated knowledge about survival in Ice Age conditions. The feeding behavior that Kael observes tells him important information about both mammoth ecology and the current environmental conditions that affect resource availability throughout his territory. The way these massive animals use their trunks to gather vegetation shows their remarkable adaptation to Ice Age conditions, with specialized feeding techniques that allow them to extract nutrition from plants that would be inaccessible to animals without such versatile appendages. Their systematic approach to feeding, moving methodically across an area while thoroughly processing available vegetation, creates feeding patterns that can be predicted and utilized by human hunters who understand mammoth behavior. Picture the gentle giants as they work their way across the snow-covered landscape, each animal weighing several tons, but moving with surprising grace and efficiency as they use their trunks to probe beneath snow cover and their tusks to break through frozen surface layers that might defeat smaller animals. The social cooperation evident in their feeding activities shows how family groups coordinate their efforts to maximize feeding efficiency while maintaining the alertness needed to detect potential threats from the large predators that share their Ice Age world. The communication systems that Kael observes among the mammoth family demonstrate the sophisticated social behaviors that characterize these intelligent animals, with low-frequency rumbles that can travel for miles through the cold air serving as long-distance communication methods that coordinate activities between separated groups. The visual signals created by trunk movements, ear positions, and body postures provide additional communication channels that allow complex social coordination within family groups and between different mammoth communities. The defensive behaviors that mammoths display when they detect potential threats show Kael the respect and caution that successful Ice Age hunting requires. With these massive animals capable of coordinated group responses that can present formidable challenges to even the most skilled human hunters. The protective formation that adults create around juveniles demonstrates the strong family bonds that characterize mammoth society and the willingness of these giants to defend their young against any perceived danger. As Kael continues his observation, he notices additional megafauna moving through the area, with a small herd of woolly rhinoceros visible in the distance as they follow their own feeding patterns across the winter landscape. These massive herbivores, equipped with impressive horns and thick protective hides, represent another important component of Ice Age ecosystems while presenting their own unique challenges and opportunities for human hunters who understand their behavioral patterns and habitat preferences. The woolly rhinoceros that Kael observes display the solitary nature that characterizes their species, with individuals maintaining careful spacing while feeding in the same general area. Their feeding behavior differs significantly from that of mammoths, with these animals using their horns to scrape away snow and their wide lips to gather vegetation that grows close to the ground. This feeding specialization allows woolly rhinoceros to exploit food resources that might be less accessible to other herbivores while creating distinctive feeding signs that experienced trackers can recognize and follow. The thick winter coats that protect both mammoths and woolly rhinoceros from Ice Age conditions demonstrate the remarkable adaptations that allowed these species to thrive in environments that would challenge most modern animals. The dense undercoat provides insulation, while the longer guard hairs create wind and weather protection, allowing these giants to remain active and continue feeding even during the most severe winter conditions that might force other animals to seek shelter. Picture Kael as he observes the peaceful coexistence between different megafauna species, with mammoths and woolly rhinoceros sharing feeding areas while maintaining the social distances that prevent competition and conflict. This ecological harmony reflects the abundance of resources available in productive Ice Age ecosystems and the behavioral adaptations that allow multiple large herbivore species to utilize the same habitats without significant interference with each other's feeding and social activities. The hunting opportunities that these observations reveal to Kael require careful evaluation of multiple factors that determine the feasibility and safety of potential hunting attempts. The size and composition of animal groups, their alertness levels and behavioral states, the terrain features that might provide tactical advantages or disadvantages, and the weather conditions that affect scent distribution and noise transmission all contribute to the complex decision-making process that characterizes successful Ice Age hunting. The ethical considerations that guide Kael's hunting decisions reflect the profound respect that Ice Age peoples maintain for the animals that sustain their communities, with hunting practices that emphasize taking only what was needed while avoiding waste and ensuring that hunting activities did not unnecessarily disturb or endanger animal populations. The spiritual dimensions of hunting included ceremonies and practices that honored the spirits of hunted animals while maintaining the reciprocal relationship between humans and the natural world that supported them. The cooperative hunting strategies that successful mammoth hunting requires demonstrate the sophisticated social organization and communication skills that characterize Ice Age human communities, with coordinated group efforts that allow human hunters to overcome the size and power disadvantages they face when confronting megafauna. These hunting strategies require precise timing, careful coordination, and the ability to adapt quickly to changing situations as hunts develop. The tool requirements for megafauna hunting represent some of the most sophisticated technologies developed by Ice Age peoples, with specialized spear points designed for penetrating thick hide and massive body mass, hafting techniques that can withstand the tremendous forces generated during encounters with large animals, and backup systems that provide redundancy and reliability when equipment failure could have life-threatening consequences. Picture the careful planning and preparation that successful megafauna hunting requires, with hunters studying animal behavior patterns for days or weeks before attempting approaches, coordinating their activities with other family groups to ensure adequate manpower for processing large carcasses, and developing contingency plans for the various scenarios that might develop during hunting encounters with powerful and potentially dangerous animals. The processing challenges that mammoth-sized animals present require specialized knowledge and techniques for efficiently utilizing every part of large carcasses while preventing spoilage and waste. The butchering methods developed by Ice Age peoples allow rapid processing of massive amounts of meat while preserving materials needed for tool making, shelter construction, and clothing manufacture, demonstrating the comprehensive utilization strategies that make megafauna hunting economically viable for small human communities. The preservation techniques that allow long-term storage of mammoth meat provide Ice Age families with food security that extends far beyond individual hunting successes, with smoking, drying, and freezing methods that can preserve protein for months while maintaining nutritional value and palatability. These preservation technologies represent crucial components of Ice Age survival strategies that allow human communities to maintain stable food supplies despite the seasonal variations and unpredictable conditions that characterize their challenging environment. The cultural significance of successful megafauna hunting extends beyond purely practical considerations to include social recognition, community celebration, and the transmission of knowledge and skills to younger generations who must learn the complex techniques required for hunting success. The stories and traditions that develop around memorable hunts help maintain cultural continuity while preserving essential knowledge about animal behavior and hunting techniques. The seasonal patterns that govern megafauna behavior provide Kael with predictive frameworks for planning hunting activities and resource management strategies, with different times of year offering varying opportunities and challenges for encounters with different animal species. Winter hunting takes advantage of the predictable feeding patterns and reduced mobility that characterize cold season animal behavior, while other seasons offer different tactical situations and resource availability patterns. The risk assessment that characterizes all interactions with megafauna requires constant evaluation of factors that could lead to dangerous situations, with experienced hunters developing intuitive understanding of animal body language, stress indicators, and behavioral cues that signal when retreat or repositioning might be necessary to maintain safety margins essential for survival in environments where medical assistance is not available. Tonight, as you drift toward deeper rest, you can appreciate the remarkable relationship between Ice Age peoples and the magnificent giants that share their world. A relationship characterized not by conflict or domination, but by profound understanding, careful observation, and respectful interaction that allowed human communities to thrive alongside some of the most impressive animals that have ever walked the earth. The encounters with giants that shaped Kael's world demonstrate humanity's capacity for developing sophisticated understanding of natural systems, while maintaining the humility and respect that successful coexistence with powerful natural forces requires. As the morning sun climbs higher in the crystalline sky, and Kael continues his patient journey through the Ice Age landscape, his attention turns to one of the most essential yet often overlooked aspects of survival in his challenging world: the careful gathering of plant materials, mineral resources, and other natural products that provide the foundation for tool making, medicine, shelter construction, and countless other applications that make comfortable living possible even in the harsh conditions of the last Ice Age. This gathering activity represents a sophisticated form of environmental knowledge that encompasses not only the identification and location of useful materials, but also understanding of their properties, processing requirements, and sustainable harvesting practices that ensure continued availability of essential resources. Picture Kael as he approaches a sheltered valley where his knowledge of plant ecology and seasonal patterns tells him he might find some of the hardy vegetation that survives Ice Age winters and provide materials essential for various survival applications. His route takes him along the edges of areas where snow accumulation creates favorable microclimates, while protecting certain plants from the most severe effects of winter weather, creating refugia where useful species can be found even during the coldest months. The first plants that catch Kael's attention are the evergreen shrubs and small trees that maintain their foliage throughout winter and provide materials for multiple essential applications. The juniper bushes that grow in protected areas offer berries that provide both nutrition and medicinal properties, with the small blue fruits containing oils and compounds that help maintain health during the challenging winter months when fresh foods are scarce. These berries also provide flavoring for preserved meats, while their antimicrobial properties help prevent food spoilage during storage. As Kael carefully harvests a portion of the available juniper berries, he demonstrates the sustainable gathering practices that ensure continued productivity of valuable plant resources, taking only what his family needs while leaving sufficient berries to maintain plant health and provide seeds for future reproduction. This careful resource management reflects thousands of years of accumulated wisdom about maintaining productive relationships with plant communities that provide essential materials for human survival. The inner bark of birch trees provides another crucial resource that Kael seeks during his gathering activities, with this material serving multiple functions that range from fire starting and food preparation to medicinal applications and material processing. The sweet, nutritious cambium layer can be eaten fresh or dried for winter storage, providing carbohydrates and vitamins that supplement the primarily protein-based diet that characterizes Ice Age nutrition. The outer bark layers provide materials for containers, roofing, and waterproofing applications that are essential for shelter construction and equipment manufacture. Picture Kael as he uses his sharp knife to carefully strip bark from birch trees, employing techniques that harvest needed materials without damaging the trees or compromising their ability to survive and continue growing. His harvesting methods reflect deep understanding of tree physiology and the sustainable practices that allow continued utilization of forest resources without depleting the plant communities that provide essential materials for human survival. The medicinal plants that Kael knows how to locate and identify represent one of the most sophisticated aspects of Ice Age plant knowledge, with dozens of species providing treatments for various health conditions that might otherwise prove serious or even fatal in environments where modern medical care is not available. The willow bark that he finds growing near water sources contains compounds that provide pain relief and fever reduction, while various root and leaf preparations can treat digestive problems, respiratory conditions, and other health issues that affect Ice Age peoples. The preparation techniques that transform raw plant materials into useful medicines require specialized knowledge about processing methods, dosage calculations, and the timing of harvest that ensures maximum potency of active compounds. Kael's knowledge includes understanding of which plant parts contain the highest concentrations of useful compounds, the optimal times of year for harvesting different species, and the drying and storage methods that preserve medicinal properties over extended periods. The fiber plants that provide materials for cordage, textiles, and binding applications represent another essential category of resources that Kael seeks during his gathering activities. The inner bark of various trees can be processed into strong, flexible fibers that serve countless applications in tool making and equipment manufacture, while certain grasses and sedges provide materials for basketry, mat making, and other textile applications that improve comfort and efficiency in Ice Age living. Picture the patient processing work that transforms raw plant materials into useful fibers, with Kael using techniques that involve soaking, pounding, and careful separation of fiber bundles that can then be twisted into cordage or woven into more complex textile structures. These processing methods represent sophisticated understanding of plant anatomy and the mechanical properties that determine how different materials can be utilized for various applications. The tool-making materials that Kael gathers include not only plant resources, but also minerals and other natural products that provide essential components for manufacturing the equipment needed for successful Ice Age survival. The search for suitable stone materials requires understanding of geology and the properties that make certain rocks ideal for knapping into cutting tools, while other mineral resources provide materials for pigments, abrasives, and specialized applications that enhance tool performance and durability. The ochre deposits that Kael knows how to locate provide materials for multiple applications that range from practical uses like hide processing and preservation to cultural and artistic applications that serve important social and spiritual functions in Ice Age communities. These iron oxide minerals can be processed into pigments that provide coloring for rock art, body decoration, and ceremonial applications while also serving practical functions in leather treatment and weather protection. The clay deposits that occur in certain geological formations provide materials for pottery making, tool manufacture, and construction applications that enhance the comfort and efficiency of Ice Age living. The selection of suitable clay requires understanding of mineral properties and the characteristics that determine workability, firing behavior, and finished product performance, with different clay types serving different applications depending on their specific properties and intended uses. Picture Kael as he tests clay samples by working small amounts between his fingers, assessing plasticity, texture, and other characteristics that determine suitability for different applications. His evaluation methods reflect accumulated knowledge about ceramic technology and the properties that make certain clays ideal for pottery making, while others serve better for construction or tool-making applications. The organic materials that complement mineral resources include various animal products that can be gathered from natural sources without requiring successful hunting activities. The shed antlers that large herbivores drop annually provide materials for tool handles, pressure flaking implements, and other applications that take advantage of antlers' unique combination of hardness and workability. The collection of these materials requires knowledge of animal behavior patterns and the timing of antler shedding cycles. The bone materials that become available from natural deaths and predator kills provide additional resources for tool making and material processing applications, with different bone types offering varying properties that suit them for specific uses. Long bones provide material for needles and other small tools, while flat bones can be shaped into scrapers and other processing implements that are essential for hide preparation and other material processing activities. The insect and invertebrate resources that Kael knows how to locate and utilize provide specialized materials that serve unique functions in Ice Age technology and medicine. Certain beetles and other insects provide materials for adhesives and bindings, while other invertebrates offer resources for specialized applications that demonstrate the comprehensive utilization strategies that characterize successful Ice Age survival. The seasonal timing that governs the availability and quality of different gathered materials requires Kael to maintain detailed knowledge of annual cycles and the optimal times for harvesting various resources. Some plants provide the highest concentrations of useful compounds during specific seasons, while mineral resources may be more accessible during certain weather conditions that affect ground conditions and water levels. Picture the mental calendar that guides Kael's gathering activities throughout the year, with different seasons offering optimal opportunities for harvesting specific materials while other resources remain available year-round, but with varying quality and accessibility. This temporal dimension of resource management demonstrates the sophisticated planning and knowledge systems that enable successful Ice Age survival. The processing techniques that transform raw gathered materials into useful products often require specialized tools and equipment that must be manufactured and maintained as part of comprehensive survival strategies. The stone hammers used for crushing plant materials, the wooden mortars needed for grinding applications, and the various containers required for storage and transport all represent technological solutions that enable efficient utilization of gathered resources. The storage methods that preserve gathered materials for future use require understanding of preservation techniques and the environmental conditions that maintain quality over extended periods. Different materials require different storage approaches, with some resources needing protection from moisture, while others must be kept in specific temperature ranges or atmospheric conditions that prevent deterioration and maintain usefulness. The quality assessment skills that allow Kael to distinguish between high-quality and inferior materials require experience and training that develop over many years of gathering activities. The ability to recognize the visual, tactile, and olfactory characteristics that indicate superior materials can mean the difference between successful and failed applications when gathered resources are incorporated into tools, medicines, or other essential products. The geographical knowledge that guides efficient gathering activities includes understanding of the distribution patterns and habitat preferences that determine where different resources are most likely to be found. This spatial dimension of resource management allows experienced gatherers to plan efficient routes that maximize the productivity of gathering expeditions while minimizing the time and energy expenditure required to locate essential materials. The social coordination that characterizes gathering activities in Ice Age communities includes sharing of knowledge about resource locations, quality assessments, and processing techniques that ensure all community members have access to essential materials. The teaching and learning processes that transmit gathering knowledge to younger generations represent crucial components of cultural survival that maintain the knowledge base essential for continued survival in challenging environments. The environmental ethics that guide sustainable gathering practices reflect the long-term thinking and ecological awareness that characterize successful Ice Age communities, with harvesting methods that ensure continued productivity of natural resources while maintaining the ecological relationships that support both human communities and the natural systems that sustain them. Tonight, as you settle deeper into peaceful rest, you can appreciate the remarkable breadth and sophistication of knowledge that Ice Age gathering represents, encompassing not only the identification and location of useful materials, but also the processing techniques, storage methods, and sustainable harvesting practices that ensure continued access to the diverse resources that make comfortable survival possible in challenging environments. The gathering activities that occupy so much of Kael's time and attention demonstrate the comprehensive understanding of natural systems that characterizes successful adaptation to Ice Age conditions. As the day progresses and Kael's solitary activities in the hunting grounds begin to draw toward a close, his thoughts and movements naturally turn toward home and the warm community of family and extended kin who share the responsibilities and rewards of Ice Age survival. The return journey carries him not only across the familiar landscape toward his shelter, but also toward the social and cultural dimensions of Ice Age life that transform mere survival into something approaching comfort and happiness even in Earth's most challenging climate conditions. Picture Kael as he begins his homeward journey, carrying with him not only the gathered materials and hunting observations that represent the day's productive work, but also the anticipation of rejoining the community that makes all individual efforts meaningful and worthwhile. The smoke visible in the distance from his family's hearth fire represents far more than just a navigation landmark. It symbolizes warmth, safety, shared food, companionship, and the cultural traditions that bind Ice Age peoples together in communities capable of not just surviving, but thriving in their demanding environment. The fire that sends that welcoming smoke into the clear Ice Age sky represents perhaps the most fundamental technology that makes human survival possible in extreme conditions, serving functions that extend far beyond simple heating to encompass food preparation, material processing, tool manufacture, protection from predators, and the social focus that maintains family and community bonds during the long winter months when outdoor activities are limited by weather conditions. As Kael approaches his family's camp, he can see Aina tending the central fire that has burned continuously since it was first kindled at the beginning of winter, maintained through careful fuel management and the constant attention that prevents the loss of this precious resource that would be difficult and potentially dangerous to replace during severe weather conditions. The techniques required for maintaining long-term fires include understanding of fuel types, burning rates, banking methods, and safety practices that prevent accidental fires while ensuring that warmth and cooking capability remain available throughout the extended cold seasons. The wood selection that feeds these essential fires requires sophisticated understanding of the burning characteristics of different tree species and the specific applications that make certain woods ideal for particular purposes. Dense hardwoods provide long-burning coals that maintain heat through cold nights, while resinous softwoods ignite readily and provide quick heating for cooking and emergency warmth. The seasoning requirements for optimal burning performance mean that fuel preparation represents an ongoing activity that requires forward planning and careful resource management. Picture the carefully arranged woodpile that represents months of preparation and planning, with different wood types sorted according to their burning characteristics and intended applications. The tinder materials stored in waterproof containers provide the fine, dry combustibles needed for fires starting under challenging conditions, while the graduated sizes of kindling and fuel would create the progression of materials needed to build fires efficiently and maintain them reliably under various weather conditions. The fire management techniques that characterize successful Ice Age communities include methods for controlling heat output, directing smoke flow, and maintaining optimal combustion conditions for different applications. The stone-lined fire pits that focus heat while protecting surrounding areas from accidental ignition represent sophisticated understanding of thermal dynamics and safety considerations, while the various tools used for fire tending demonstrate the technological solutions that enable efficient fire management. The cooking applications that make fire essential for Ice Age nutrition include methods for roasting, boiling, smoking, and drying foods that not only improve palatability, but also enhance nutritional value and extend storage life. The roasting techniques used for large game provide thorough cooking that ensures food safety, while developing flavors that make preserved meats more appealing during long winter months. The stone boiling methods that allow cooking in containers that cannot be placed directly over flames expand the range of cooking techniques available to Ice Age cooks. The food preparation activities that center around the family fire represent crucial aspects of Ice Age nutrition and resource management, with specialized techniques for processing various plant and animal foods to maximize their nutritional value and storage potential. The rendering of animal fats provides cooking medium and high-energy food supplements, while the preparation of bone marrow and organ meats ensures access to essential vitamins and minerals that might otherwise be lacking in Ice Age diets. Picture Aina as she demonstrates the sophisticated food processing techniques that transform raw materials into nutritious, appetizing meals that provide both physical sustenance and psychological comfort during challenging times. Her knowledge encompasses not only cooking methods, but also food safety practices, nutritional balance, and the cultural traditions that make shared meals important social events that strengthen family and community bonds. The social functions of fire extend far beyond practical applications to include the gathering focus that brings family members together for conversation, storytelling, planning, and the transmission of cultural knowledge that maintains community identity and ensures that essential survival skills pass from one generation to the next. The evening hours spent around family fires represent crucial times for education, entertainment, and the social bonding that makes cooperative survival strategies possible. The storytelling traditions that flourish around Ice Age fires serve multiple functions that include entertainment, education, and the preservation of essential knowledge about survival techniques, animal behavior, weather patterns, and the geographical information that guides successful hunting and gathering activities. These oral traditions represent sophisticated information storage and transmission systems that maintain cultural knowledge across generations, while providing the social cohesion that enables successful community cooperation. The tool manufacturing activities that often occur around fires take advantage of heat for various processing applications while providing productive work that can be accomplished during periods when weather conditions prevent outdoor activities. The heat treatment of stone tools, the shaping of wooden implements, and the processing of various materials benefit from the controlled heat sources that fires provide, while the good lighting conditions around fires enable precision work on detailed manufacturing tasks. Picture the family workshop that develops around the central fire during long winter evenings, with different family members engaged in various manufacturing and maintenance activities that keep essential equipment in good repair while creating new tools and implements needed for continued survival. The shared workspace encourages cooperation and knowledge transfer while making efficient use of limited indoor space and optimal lighting conditions. The material processing applications that utilize fire include hide tanning, cordage manufacture, and various other activities that transform raw materials into useful products essential for Ice Age survival. The controlled heat that fires provide enables chemical and physical processes that would be impossible under natural conditions, while the ability to maintain precise temperature control allows sophisticated processing techniques that produce high-quality finished products. The social coordination that occurs around family fires includes planning for future activities, discussing observations and discoveries made during individual foraging and hunting expeditions, and making collective decisions about resource management and survival strategies. These collaborative discussions ensure that all family members understand current conditions and planned activities while incorporating individual knowledge and observations into group decision-making processes. The conflict resolution and social harmony maintenance that characterizes successful Ice Age communities often centers around firelit gatherings where interpersonal issues can be discussed and resolved through traditional mediation processes that preserve group cohesion essential for survival. The warm, comfortable environment created by fires provides settings conducive to peaceful discussion and collaborative problem-solving that maintains the cooperation essential for successful group survival. Picture the peaceful evening gatherings that bring extended family groups together around shared fires, with multiple generations contributing their knowledge and perspectives to discussions about current conditions, future planning, and the countless decisions that determine survival success in challenging environments. These social gatherings represent crucial components of Ice Age survival strategies that depend on group cooperation and shared knowledge. The spiritual and cultural activities that occur around fires include ceremonies and rituals that maintain connections with ancestral traditions while addressing the psychological and emotional needs that arise during challenging survival situations. The artistic activities that flourish in firelit environments include music, dancing, and various forms of creative expression that provide psychological relief and cultural enrichment that enhance quality of life even under difficult conditions. The educational functions of fire-centered gatherings include the formal and informal instruction that transmits essential survival knowledge from experienced adults to younger community members who must learn the complex skills required for successful Ice Age survival. The apprenticeship relationships that develop through shared work around fires ensure that specialized knowledge about tool making, food processing, animal behavior, and other crucial subjects passes reliably to new generations. The weather protection that fires provide includes not only direct heating, but also the drying capabilities that help maintain dry clothing and equipment essential for comfort and safety in wet conditions. The ability to dry wet footwear, clothing, and gear around fires can prevent the hypothermia and frostbite that represent serious threats in Ice Age conditions, while the humidity control that fires provide helps maintain comfortable indoor environments. The predator deterrence that fires provide represents an important safety function that protects Ice Age communities from the large carnivores that share their environment and might otherwise pose serious threats to human safety. The light and activity associated with fires help establish human presence and territory, while the smoke and flame create deterrent effects that discourage predator approaches to human settlements. The communication functions that fires serve include smoke signals and other long-distance communication methods that allow coordination between separated family groups and communities spread across large territories. The ability to send signals about successful hunts, weather conditions, and other important information helps maintain social connections and mutual support networks essential for survival in challenging environments. The psychological benefits that fires provide include the comfort, security, and positive emotional associations that help maintain mental health and social cohesion during difficult periods when survival stresses might otherwise create depression, anxiety, and social conflict. The primal human attraction to fire represents deep psychological connections that contribute to well-being and community stability essential for successful long-term survival. Tonight, as you drift toward deeper rest, you can appreciate the central role that fire played in making Ice Age survival not just possible, but comfortable and socially rich, transforming basic survival into community life that included art, culture, education, and the social bonds that made cooperative survival strategies successful across thousands of years of challenging environmental conditions. The fires that warmed Kael's family represent the technological and social foundations that enabled human communities to thrive in one of Earth's most demanding environments while maintaining the cultural traditions and social relationships that make survival meaningful and worthwhile. As evening approaches and the brilliant Ice Age stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, Kael and his family turn their attention to the sophisticated shelter systems that protect them from the extreme cold and provide the secure, comfortable living spaces that make not just survival, but contentment possible during the long winter months when outdoor activities are limited by weather conditions and most of life must be conducted within the carefully engineered structures that represent thousands of years of accumulated knowledge about creating warm, dry, comfortable homes in one of Earth's most challenging environments. Picture the remarkable dwelling that surrounds Kael's family as they settle in for the evening, a structure that demonstrates the pinnacle of Ice Age engineering and represents one of humanity's greatest technological achievements in adapting to extreme environmental conditions. The shelter combines mammoth bones as a structural framework with carefully layered hide coverings that create an insulating envelope capable of maintaining comfortable interior temperatures even when outside conditions drop to levels that would quickly prove fatal to unprotected humans. The foundation system that supports the shelter begins with careful site selection that takes advantage of natural drainage, wind protection, and the geological features that provide stable building surfaces while avoiding areas prone to flooding, excessive wind exposure, or other environmental hazards that could compromise structural integrity or inhabitant comfort. The excavation of a shallow depression creates a sunken floor that takes advantage of Earth's thermal mass, while providing protection from ground-level winds and creating additional interior height within the overall structure. As Kael examines the structural elements that create his family's home, he demonstrates the engineering knowledge that Ice Age peoples developed to create buildings capable of withstanding extreme weather conditions while providing comfortable living spaces for extended occupancy. The mammoth bones that form the primary framework include carefully selected curved tusks that create the main structural arches, long leg bones that provide vertical support elements, and flat skull pieces that serve as foundation pads, distributing structural loads across the ground surface. The assembly techniques that join these massive bone elements into stable structural frameworks require sophisticated understanding of load distribution, joint design, and the mechanical properties that allow organic materials to function as effective building components. The lashing systems that hold bone elements together use specially prepared sinew and hide strips that provide flexible connections capable of withstanding the thermal expansion and contraction cycles that affect all structures in environments with extreme temperature variations. Picture the careful engineering calculations that govern the placement of each structural element, with bone positions determined by understanding of load paths, stress distributions, and the aerodynamic forces that extreme winds can create around structures exposed to ice age weather conditions. The curved profile of the overall structure sheds wind efficiently while maximizing internal volume, creating the optimal balance between structural strength and interior space utilization. The covering system that creates the shelter's thermal envelope represents another remarkable achievement in ice age technology, with multiple layers of carefully prepared hides that create insulating air spaces while providing wind and weather protection. The outer layer consists of thick mammoth hide that has been treated to resist water penetration while maintaining flexibility under extreme temperature conditions, while inner layers use softer, more insulating materials that create comfortable interior surfaces. The hide preparation techniques that create these covering materials require sophisticated understanding of leather chemistry and the processing methods that transform raw animal skins into durable, flexible building materials capable of withstanding years of exposure to extreme weather conditions. The tanning processes use natural chemicals extracted from plant materials and animal brains to create leather that remains supple even in extreme cold, while developing water resistance and durability essential for long-term structural applications. The ventilation system that prevents moisture buildup while maintaining thermal efficiency includes carefully designed openings that allow air circulation without creating excessive heat loss or uncomfortable drafts. The smoke hole at the structure's apex provides outlet for combustion products, while the controlled air inlets near the floor level create circulation patterns that maintain air quality while preserving the warm temperatures essential for comfortable living. Picture the sophisticated understanding of fluid dynamics and thermal transfer that governs the design of these ventilation systems, with airflow patterns carefully calculated to prevent the accumulation of carbon dioxide and moisture while maintaining the temperature gradients that keep interior spaces comfortable even when outside temperatures drop far below freezing. The insulation strategies that maximize thermal efficiency include not only the multiple hide layers, but also careful attention to ground insulation, thermal bridging prevention, and the use of organic materials like grass, moss, and fur to create additional insulating layers that enhance the shelter's ability to maintain comfortable temperatures with minimal fuel consumption. The interior layout that maximizes the utility of limited space includes designated areas for sleeping, food storage, tool manufacture, and social activities, with each functional zone optimized for its specific uses while maintaining the traffic flow patterns that allow efficient movement within the constrained interior space. The sleeping areas utilize raised platforms that take advantage of thermal stratification, while the work areas provide good lighting from the central fire for detailed tasks. The food storage systems that protect essential supplies from spoilage and contamination include specialized containers and storage areas that maintain optimal conditions for different types of preserved foods, while preventing access by rodents and other pests that might otherwise compromise food security. The underground storage pits take advantage of stable earth temperatures for long-term preservation, while elevated storage areas prevent damage from moisture and ground-dwelling insects. Picture the carefully organized interior space that functions as workshop, kitchen, bedroom, and social center, with every available area utilized efficiently while maintaining the comfort and functionality needed for extended occupancy during periods when outdoor activities are impossible due to weather conditions. The storage systems ensure that essential tools, materials, and supplies remain readily accessible while protected from environmental damage. The heating system that maintains comfortable interior temperatures centers around the carefully designed fire pit that provides heat while supporting cooking and material processing activities. The thermal mass created by stone lining stores heat during active burning and releases it gradually during periods when fires burn low, helping to maintain stable temperatures while reducing fuel consumption required for continuous comfort. The lighting systems that enable activities during the long winter nights include not only firelight, but also specialized oil lamps that burn animal fats and provide focused illumination for detailed work activities. These lighting technologies allow productive use of the extended dark periods that characterize Ice Age winters, while conserving fuel needed for heating and cooking applications. The maintenance requirements that keep shelters functional throughout extended occupancy periods include regular inspection and repair of covering materials, structural elements, and interior systems that experience wear and damage from continuous use under challenging conditions. The ability to perform these maintenance activities using available materials and tools ensures that shelters remain secure and comfortable throughout entire winter seasons. The waterproofing techniques that prevent interior moisture problems include careful sealing of joints and seams in covering materials while maintaining the breathability needed to prevent condensation accumulation that could create unhealthy interior conditions or damage store materials. The drainage systems around shelter foundations direct surface water away from living areas while preventing ice dam formation that could compromise structural integrity. Picture the ongoing attention to detail that maintains these sophisticated shelter systems in optimal condition, with family members constantly monitoring performance and making adjustments that ensure continued comfort and safety even as weather conditions change and seasonal factors affect material properties and structural performance. The privacy provisions that allow individual family members to maintain personal space within shared living areas include portable screens and dividers that can be arranged to create temporary private areas while maintaining the social connectivity that characterizes successful family cooperation. These privacy systems help prevent the interpersonal conflicts that might otherwise develop during extended periods of close confinement in limited spaces. The expansion capabilities that allow shelters to accommodate varying occupancy levels include modular design elements that permit enlargement when extended family groups gather together, while allowing contraction to minimize heating requirements when fewer people are present. These flexible design features help optimize shelter performance for different social and seasonal conditions. The security features that protect inhabitants and stored resources from both animal intrusions and human threats include robust door systems and defensive positions that can be maintained even during extreme weather conditions. The design ensures that shelter occupants can remain safe and secure even during extended siege situations while maintaining access to essential resources needed for survival. The emergency preparedness built into shelter design includes backup systems for heating, lighting, and ventilation that can function even if primary systems fail due to damage or resource depletion. These redundant systems ensure that shelter occupants can maintain survival capabilities even during equipment failures or supply shortages that might otherwise create life-threatening situations. The comfort features that transform basic survival shelters into pleasant living spaces include carefully designed seating areas, sleeping surfaces that provide adequate support and insulation, and storage systems that keep personal belongings organized and accessible. These comfort elements help maintain morale and psychological well-being during challenging periods when external conditions limit outdoor activities and social contact. The cultural elements incorporated into shelter design include spaces designated for artistic activities, spiritual practices, and social gatherings that maintain the cultural traditions essential for community identity and psychological health. The accommodation of these cultural needs demonstrates the sophisticated understanding that successful Ice Age survival requires attention to psychological and social factors, as well as basic physical requirements. The technological integration that characterizes advanced Ice Age shelters includes specialized areas for tool manufacture, material processing, and equipment maintenance that allow productive work to continue even during severe weather conditions that prevent outdoor activities. These workshop areas help maintain the technological capabilities essential for continued survival, while providing productive activities that prevent the boredom and depression that might otherwise develop during extended confinement periods. The environmental harmony that characterizes well-designed Ice Age shelters includes careful integration with natural landscape features and ecosystem patterns that minimize environmental impact while taking advantage of natural conditions that enhance shelter performance. The sustainable resource use reflects long-term thinking about maintaining the natural systems that support continued human occupation of challenging environments. Tonight, as you settle into deeper rest, you can appreciate the remarkable sophistication of Ice Age shelter technology and the comprehensive understanding of engineering, materials science, and human factors that enabled our ancestors to create comfortable, secure homes in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The shelters that protected families like Kael's represent not just technological achievements, but also demonstrations of human ingenuity, cooperation, and the determination to not merely survive, but to create living conditions that support culture, comfort, and the social relationships that make survival meaningful and sustainable across generations. As the last traces of twilight fade from the Ice Age sky and darkness settles over the frozen landscape with the profound stillness that characterizes winter nights in this ancient world, Kael settles into the warm comfort of his family's shelter, surrounded by the gentle sounds of crackling fire and the quiet breathing of loved ones who share this secure refuge against the vast, cold wilderness that stretches endlessly in all directions beneath a canopy of stars that shine with crystalline brilliance impossible to imagine in our modern world of artificial lights and atmospheric pollution. Picture Kael as he lies on his carefully prepared bedding of soft furs and woven grasses, his body relaxed and warm despite the bitter cold that grips the world outside his shelter walls. His mind processing the day's experiences and observations while gradually releasing the alert vigilance that characterizes daylight hours when survival depends on constant awareness of environmental conditions and potential opportunities or threats that might affect his family's well-being and safety. The stars that shine above Kael's world present a celestial panorama of extraordinary beauty and clarity, with the pristine atmosphere of Ice Age Earth allowing visibility of stellar details and cosmic phenomena that modern observers can only glimpse through powerful telescopes or in the most remote locations far from urban light pollution. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of light, its countless stars clearly visible as individual points of brilliance that ancient peoples used for navigation, timekeeping, and the rich astronomical traditions that guided their understanding of seasonal cycles and natural rhythms. The constellations that Kael's people recognize in their star-filled sky include many of the same patterns that modern astronomers identify, though the stories and meanings attached to these stellar arrangements reflect the unique cultural perspectives and environmental experiences of Ice Age communities whose lives remain intimately connected to natural cycles and animal behaviors that modern urban dwellers rarely observe directly. The Great Bear that wheels slowly across the northern sky marks the progression of seasons, while providing a reliable compass point that guides travelers across vast territories where other landmarks might be obscured by weather or distance. As Kael gazes upward through the smoke hole that provides ventilation for his family's shelter, he sees the brilliant display of aurora borealis that frequently illuminates Ice Age skies, with sheets and curtains of green, blue, and purple light dancing across the stellar backdrop in magnificent displays created by solar particles interacting with Earth's magnetic field at latitudes where the aurora appears with frequency and intensity unknown in warmer climates. These northern lights provide both practical illumination for nighttime activities and spiritual inspiration that enriches the cultural traditions of Ice Age peoples. Picture the ethereal beauty of aurora displays as they shimmer and flow across the star-studded darkness, creating a light show that transforms the winter night into a cathedral of natural wonder, where ancient peoples found both practical guidance for navigation and seasonal timing, as well as spiritual connection to forces beyond their immediate earthly environment. The aurora's appearance often correlates with weather patterns and magnetic phenomena that experienced observers learn to interpret as indicators of atmospheric conditions and seasonal transitions. The moon that rides across Kael's night sky shows phases that provide the primary timekeeping system for Ice Age communities, with lunar cycles marking the passage of months, while the moon's position relative to stars and horizon features helps determine seasonal timing and the optimal periods for various survival activities. The full moon that occasionally illuminates the snow-covered landscape with brilliant silver light creates conditions ideal for nighttime, hunting, and travel, while providing the visibility needed for emergency activities that might otherwise prove dangerous in complete darkness. The meteor showers that frequently streak across Ice Age skies create spectacular displays of celestial fireworks that ancient peoples incorporated into their astronomical knowledge and cultural traditions, with these periodic events serving as calendar markers while providing opportunities for wishes, ceremonies, and the spiritual practices that help maintain psychological well-being and community cohesion during challenging times when survival depends heavily on maintaining hope and positive attitudes despite difficult conditions. The planet Venus, visible as the brilliant evening or morning star, depending on its orbital position, provides another reliable celestial landmark that Ice Age peoples use for navigation and timekeeping, while incorporating into cultural narratives that explain natural phenomena and provide spiritual framework for understanding humanity's place within the vast cosmos that surrounds their small but precious communities scattered across the frozen landscape. Picture Kael's thoughts as they turn from practical considerations of hunting success and resource management toward the broader contemplations that naturally arise when humans pause to observe the magnificent display of cosmic beauty that spreads across unpolluted skies, reminding even the most survival-focused individuals of mysteries and wonders that extend far beyond immediate earthly concerns and daily struggles with environmental challenges. The silence that characterizes Ice Age nights includes not just the absence of modern mechanical sounds, but also the profound quiet that develops when snow cover muffles natural sounds while extreme cold reduces the acoustic activity of most animals and natural processes. This deep silence creates conditions ideal for meditation, reflection, and the inner contemplation that helps maintain psychological balance and spiritual well-being essential for long-term survival success in demanding environments. The dreams that come to Kael as sleep gradually claims his consciousness carry the imagery and experiences of his Ice Age world, with nocturnal visions that process the day's observations while incorporating the deep archetypal symbols and ancestral memories that connect him to thousands of years of human experience in similar environments. These dreams serve important psychological functions that help integrate new experiences with accumulated knowledge while providing emotional processing of survival stresses and social dynamics. The breathing patterns that characterize healthy sleep in Ice Age conditions include the deep, regular respiration that occurs when bodies achieve optimal rest in environments where physical demands require complete recovery and cellular repair during periods of inactivity. The warm, oxygen-rich air within well-designed shelters supports the restorative sleep essential for maintaining the physical and mental performance needed for successful survival activities. Picture the peaceful family scene as parents and children settle into the sleep rhythms that have sustained human communities for countless generations, with the security provided by solid shelters and reliable fire, allowing the complete relaxation necessary for deep rest despite the challenging environmental conditions that characterize their world. The family bonds evident in shared sleeping spaces reflect the cooperation and mutual dependence that enable successful survival strategies. The nocturnal sounds that occasionally penetrate the shelter walls tell stories of nighttime animal activities and weather conditions that experienced listeners can interpret even while half asleep, maintaining the awareness needed for security while allowing the rest essential for health and performance. The distant howling of wolves reminds sleeping humans of the predator presence that requires constant vigilance, while the settling sounds of the shelter structure indicate thermal changes and structural adjustments that characterize buildings exposed to extreme temperature variations. The warmth that radiates from banked fires throughout the long Ice Age night provides not only physical comfort, but also psychological security that enables deep, restorative sleep, despite the awareness that deadly cold surrounds the thin barriers that separate warm, living family spaces from the hostile environment beyond shelter walls. The thermal mass of carefully arranged stones stores and releases heat gradually, maintaining comfortable temperatures while conserving fuel needed for survival through extended winter periods. The memories that drift through Kael's consciousness as he moves toward deeper sleep include recollections of successful hunts, pleasant family gatherings, seasonal celebrations, and the accumulated experiences that create personal identity and cultural continuity within Ice Age communities. These memories provide emotional sustenance and psychological anchoring that help maintain hope and determination essential for continued survival efforts despite environmental challenges and seasonal hardships. The cultural narratives that influence Ice Age dream content include the stories, myths, and traditional knowledge that provide frameworks for understanding natural phenomena, while creating shared meaning systems that bind communities together and provide guidance for behavior and decision-making in challenging situations. These narrative traditions help process experiences and emotions while maintaining cultural identity across generations. Picture the gentle transition from conscious awareness to the deeper levels of sleep that allows cellular repair, memory consolidation, and the neurological restoration essential for optimal functioning during the demanding activities that characterize Ice Age survival. The natural sleep cycles that govern rest patterns reflect evolutionary adaptations to environmental conditions and survival requirements that modern sleep science recognizes as optimal for human health and performance. The security provided by family presence and community bonds allows the complete relaxation necessary for healing sleep despite environmental stresses that might otherwise prevent adequate rest. The knowledge that trusted family members maintain watch while others sleep creates conditions where individuals can achieve the deep unconsciousness needed for physical and psychological restoration without compromising group security or individual safety. The seasonal dream patterns that reflect annual cycles include the unconscious processing of environmental changes and the anticipatory preparation for upcoming seasonal transitions that require different survival strategies and resource management approaches. Winter dreams often include imagery related to food security, shelter maintenance, and family relationships, while incorporating the seasonal optimism that anticipates eventual spring renewal and abundance. The problem-solving functions of Ice Age dreams include the unconscious processing of survival challenges and the creative synthesis of knowledge and experience that can lead to innovative solutions for technical problems, resource management issues, and social dynamics that affect community success. Many technological innovations and survival strategies emerge from the insight and creativity that characterize dream states and relaxed consciousness. The emotional processing that occurs during Ice Age sleep includes the integration of daily stresses, social interactions, and survival challenges in psychological frameworks that maintain mental health and emotional stability essential for continued effective functioning in demanding environments. The dream narratives that emerge from this processing often incorporate cultural symbols and archetypal imagery that provide meaning and context for challenging experiences. Picture the deep peace that settles over Ice Age families as each member finds rest and restoration within the security of well-built shelters and strong community bonds. With the knowledge that individual survival depends on group cooperation, creating the trust and security necessary for complete relaxation despite environmental challenges that would overwhelm isolated individuals attempting survival without community support. The physiological restoration that occurs during Ice Age sleep includes the muscle repair needed for continued physical performance, the immune system strengthening that maintains health in challenging conditions, and the neurological processing that maintains cognitive function essential for the complex decision-making and skill performance that characterize successful survival activities. The spiritual dimensions of Ice Age rest include the connection to natural rhythms and cosmic cycles that provide meaning and context beyond immediate survival concerns. with dream experiences often incorporating themes of harmony with natural forces and the ancestral wisdom that guides successful adaptation to environmental challenges. These spiritual elements help maintain hope and purpose essential for long-term survival motivation. The morning preparation that begins even during sleep includes the unconscious processing of weather observations and environmental conditions that allows experienced Ice Age peoples to begin planning daily activities even before full consciousness returns. This integration of environmental awareness with rest cycles demonstrates the sophisticated adaptation to natural conditions that characterizes successful Ice Age survival strategies. The family dynamics that continue even during sleep include the unconscious coordination of sleep cycles and the mutual monitoring that ensures security while allowing individual rest, with family members naturally maintaining awareness of each other's well-being and safety even during deep sleep periods. These protective behaviors reflect the evolutionary adaptations that enable group survival in challenging environments. The seasonal anticipation that influences Ice Age sleep patterns includes the unconscious preparation for upcoming environmental changes and the gradual adjustment of biological rhythms that prepare individuals and communities for different survival requirements as natural cycles progress through their annual patterns. This anticipatory adaptation helps ensure successful transitions between different seasonal strategies and resource management approaches. Tonight, as you drift into your own peaceful rest, you can appreciate the profound connection between rest, dreams, and survival that characterized Ice Age life, where the security provided by human cooperation and technological innovation created conditions where families could find peace and restoration even in Earth's most challenging environment. The dreams that came to Kael under ancient stars remind us that even in the most demanding circumstances, humans have always found ways to create not just survival, but comfort, security, and a spiritual connection to natural beauty that makes life meaningful and sustainable across generations. The eternal dance of stars across Ice Age skies continues, as it has for millions of years, connecting ancient peoples like Kael's family to the vast cosmos that surrounds our small planet, while providing the celestial beauty and wonder that inspire hope, creativity, and the spiritual strength needed to face whatever challenges each new day might bring. In the peaceful sleep that comes beneath these ancient stars, Ice Age peoples found the rest and restoration needed to continue the remarkable human adventure of adaptation, survival, and the creation of culture and community even in the most demanding conditions our species has ever faced. Sleep well, knowing that the same stars that watched over Kael's peaceful rest continue to shine above us, connecting us across vast spans of time to the courage, wisdom, and ingenuity of ancestors who faced seemingly impossible challenges and not only survived, but created the foundations for all human civilization that followed. Their dreams under ancient stars remind us that with cooperation, knowledge, and determination, humans can find security and happiness even in the most challenging circumstances, creating communities of warmth and love that shine like stars against the darkness of an often difficult world.